Hello friends, today we start our tutorial on Catia Sketcher. So first of all we have to go to start and then go to mechanical design and then go to Sketcher. A new window will open and you have to make it okay so that part 1 can be created. Now here we have our user interface in which this blue screen is our working area and this upper toolbar we have side toolbars and we have downward toolbars. Before starting, we have to select a plane on which we have to draw something. So let us try. We select the XY plane. When we select the XY plane, a new window will open and we are in sketching mode. Now, to select or to draw a line command, we have to go to this profile toolbar. Let us arrange this toolbar its own position. Now, click on the line, give the first point to the line, and you can see here there are two different notifications of line, or you can say two different identifications of the line. First, if the line is horizontal or it is vertical, then we can see it's blue in color. And if it is inclined to certain angle with the horizontal or with the vertical, then it should be white in color. Give the second point to the line, click OK, and we can define the line. Now if you want to give the dimension to this line, click on the line, click on this icon that is called constraint. In Catia it is known as dimensional constraint. So what I do, I basically click on the constraint and the dimension will automatically appear on the line. To change the dimension of the line, we have to double click the dimension and give the desired value to the line. Now here we can see the sketch is not fully constrained because it is white in color. If you want to make this sketch fully constrained, we have to give another dimension that is basically angle with the horizontal or with the vertical. So I just click again on the constraint dialog box, click on the line, click on the horizontal value arrow, and then I just give the angle. To change the angle, we double click it and give the desired value. We'll get the angle. Now here we can see the line is green in color and it is fully defined and the sketch is fully defined. So this is your line command. Now if you want to give the dimension to the line in some another way, let us try it with the second option. Delete this by selecting the line completely and select the delete button. Now again I click on the line, I just give the first point of the line and then just press tab. What I do, I basically define the line through various values which are shown here. That means this much amount of value is shown vertically, this much is the length, and this much will be the angle. Okay? And now I basically give the values, desired values accordingly the drawing. So first let us say I just give 125 here, then from vertical I just give 45. Now what I do, I basically give the 125 dimension horizontal and vertical dimension as 45. Now if you want to give the angle, you just go on tab and clicking the tab and you will give the angle. Now here the line is fully constrained, so there are basically two different methods by which you can define the line. First, you can define the line by giving the first point and then stopping at the second point and give the dimension through the constraint dialog box. And another method, you can define the line first point of the line and press tab and give the dimensions horizontally and vertically, and you can define the line accordingly. Now moving on to another command that is called profile line. When we click on profile, it is basically a line command which works or which creates continuous line without stopping. I just create this line here, fine, and I just create a profile here, and it should be like this, this, and this. So what I do, I basically create a profile with the profile command. Here the lines are continuous, but still the sketch is not fully constrained. So what I do, I just click on constraint and just give the dimensions. To double click the dimensions to give the appropriate dimension. Again, similarly, I just click again constraint. Again, give the dimension as 50. Similar way, I can give the dimension to this line also. That is 20, and this line also. Just click on this. Now, what's wrong with this? Basically, you just give the dimension which is not required. So the sketch is now over constrained and it is violet in color. So what I do, I basically delete this dimension, because here we give the 50 dimension, and if I minus 20 from this, we will get 30. By default it is 30, so I don't want to give the here dimension. I just delete this dimension. I just give this dimension as 50. Now the sketch is fully constrained. So we can see here that profile command is used to create the sketches continuously without any hesitation, and we can define or we can constrain the sketch properly or fully define the sketch properly with the help of various parameters such as dimensions or angles. Now moving on to the next command of the Catia sketch part, that is called circle. Fine. Now click on the circle, give the center point of the circle, and then give the radius point of the circle. Circle is created. Now here again, circle is not fully defined. It is not we can say green in color. So what I do, I just click on the constraint box, click the circle, give the diameter of the circle, double click to give the exact value of the circle. Now here circle is created. Select it, delete it. Now we can select profile command again and create an equilateral triangle. What I do, I basically give the start point of the line, give the end point of the line, and we move continuously without giving any dimension to the triangle. Press escape to end the command. Now I just give the dimension to this horizontal line as 150. You can click on enter and the command is done. Now we know that for equilateral triangles, the angle between these two lines should be 60 degree. So I just click 60 again. I can select the constraint box, select the line, select the horizontal line, give the angle 60. So you can pan the diagram. Now you can see here that our diagram is out of our user interface screen. So I just click your roller of the mouse in downward direction, and you can pan this sketch anywhere on the screen. Now the angles are basically given here, so you can drag them to give the dimension outwards or inwards, or you want to give angle 60 degree in the middle of the sketch or somewhere else. So you can give by dragging the angles accordingly. Fine. Now move to the circle command again. Now when I go to the 3-point circle, that is the second part of the circle command, I just click on this. Now when I drag or hover my cursor on this line, what I see, I basically define the circle first point on this line. Now you can easily see here when I drag my cursor on the line, the circles which are shown are concentric and hollow inside. But when I just come at the midpoint of this line, the circle inside circle should be solid, and the outside circle which is shown in the symbol is totally just a line. So this is the major difference. You can define it when you hover on the line. The circles are basically concentric and hollow, and when you come to the midpoint of the line, the circles are basically solid and concentric. So I just pick any of these points here, anywhere, and I can define the 3-point circle. Just click here. So this is your circle, which is defined by 3 points. Fine. And if you want to make a circle which is called tritangent, or mm, uh, another name that is called this tritangent circle, that is the fourth option of your uh, circle command. So we just click on this tritangent part of the circle, select the first point, select the second point on the line, select the third point, and this circle is totally tangent to the triangle, and it is always inside the triangle. So if you want to make 3-point circle, again should be inside the circle, so you just select the midpoints of the triangle. That is first one, then we have somewhere here our second point, and third, somewhere here we have third point. Now what happens basically, this sketch is over constrained now because we are giving two angles here, and by drawing this circle we basically over constrain this sketch. So what I do, I basically delete this angle here, and now sketch is fully refined and green in color. So we can select it and delete this sketch. So in circle command we basically do simple circle, try 3-point circle, and this tritangent circle. Then moving on to the arcs. Now this is 3-point arc, so you have to give the first point of the arc, then we have to give the second point and third point, which is the radius point of the arc, and the arc is created. Similar way, we can define the 3-point arc starting with limits. This is the first limit of the arc, then we have second limit of the arc, and drag your mouse up and down to give the third limit of the arc. Let us I give this, and your arc is created, and you can define it with the help of constraint box. Then we have our arc, simple arc. Just give the first point of the arc, then give second point, and then we have to define the start and radius end point of the arc. So this is how your arc is created. You can define with the help of constraint box, give the dimension, it is fully constrained. Click and delete this element. Now moving on to the axis line. Now axis line is created so that you can define the reference positions of the elements. Suppose we have a circle here. We can define the circle, give the dimension as 80 millimeters. Now I can define the axis of this circle, click axis, and you can see the axis is also green in color, it means it is fully defined. Again, I can define axis here. I can define axis somewhere, anywhere on the screen. So similar way I can define the axis here. So it should be properly blue in color, it means it should be properly vertical, and your vertical sign is shown here. Now we can see this axis is white in color, and both these axes are passing through the region, and they are basically fully constrained and fully defined, so they are green in color. To make this axis green, what I do, I basically give the dimension between these two axes, and it should be around like 250 millimeters. Now you can see the axis is fully defined. I can define circle here also. Now make sure if you select the center point of the circle, both the axes should be orange in color. If you select this should be orange. This is not the center point or intersection of the axis. So at the intersection of axis, this is the center, and both the axes should be orange in color. So you can pick the intersection and you can define the circle. Dimension this circle as 100. So this is how you can use axis for various elements. Select all the elements, delete. You can select the axis individually delete them. Then we have a by tangent line. This is the third option of the line. What it does is basically, if we have a two curve elements like circle or arc or something like this. So I just draw a circle here and I just draw another circle here at certain distance. Give them certain dimensions like 70. Drag the dimension in the other direction. Fine. And give this point control, select another point, give the dimension as 250. Dimension to this circle also, it should be 100. Now the sketch is fully defined. Now click on the line, third option, that is called bitangent line. When you click this circle, click this line, a line is created which is properly tangent to both these circles. Again, I can click on this option, bitangent line, click on this circle, click on this circle. By default, automatically software will pick the tangency of this line with these two circles. And you can trim these objects if you don't need, and if you want, you can make them. They should be evenly or properly seen by the sketch diagram. Now select this, delete. Now moving on to the circle command again, and we can define here ellipse also. Click on the ellipse, click the first point, give the major radius point second one, and drag the ellipse to give the minor radius point. So I just click here. Now here the ellipse is not properly defined. What I do, I basically give the dimension to this ellipse with the horizontal. So this is the minor radius, that should be 100, and I can define the major diameter, that is like this. So it should be around, let us say 350. Still the ellipse is not fully defined. So what I do, I basically define the major dia. So it should be 175. Okay. So this is how your ellipse is formed. You can delete this. And again, now moving on to parabola by focus. So I just give the focus point, then radius point, and then the end point of the parabola, starting and the end point of the parabola. So this is how your parabola is created. Again, moving on to the hyperbola by focus. Click on the first point, that is called focus of the hyperbola, second point radius, then starting point, and then end point. So this is your hyperbola, which is, you can define this by giving the radius to the hyperbola. And then we have conic sections. So what I do, I basically select first line and then select another line. So this is how you can define the conic sections. So these are basically curves. You can define them as a Bezier curves. So just as a part of family of sublines. So with the help of these two lines which are tangent to this conic, we can define the conic sections. Now moving on to the second or third command of this, we have rectangle. This is called rectangle, which we call as 2 point. Give the first starting point of the rectangle and then end point of the rectangle. To make this rectangle fully defined, give the dimensions. So it should be 280. It should be 400. This rectangle is fully defined, green in color. Then second option of the rectangle is 3, or we can say oriented rectangle. Give the first point of the rectangle, second point of the rectangle, and third point of the rectangle. You can define this rectangle by giving the dimensions to the rectangle like this. click on the line, click on constraint box, give the dimensions, and you can also define the angle of this line with this horizontal. That should be 45. So this rectangle is now fully constrained. Select all the elements, delete. Now moving on to the parallelogram. Click the first point of the parallelogram, second point, and drag the parallelogram in any direction, up, down, right and left. So just give the second point and you can define the parallelogram. By fully defining, so I just give the dimensions to this, click on this, click the angle, should be 45, and now last I have to give this point with the origin, make it vertical dimension as 200. So this is how you can define the parallelogram. Then we have elongated hole. Give the first point of the hole and the second point of the hole and drag the mouse up and down to create a elongated hole. Now here by default dimensions, radius of this hole is given. I just want to give the dimension to this center line and it all be defined. So it is fully defined, select, delete. Then we have cylindrical elongated hole. Give the first point, give the second point. Now this is your start point and end point. This is how your hole is created. Now to construct this, I just give the radius to this, that is like 400, and I just create a center line here from this point and join these two points. Click on this line, click on H, horizontal line. Sorry, just delete this. Click on constraint box, click on the line, click on the horizontal line, give the angle. Should be 120. Now you can see this edge is not properly fixed. So what I do, I just click on these 2 points. First point, control, second point, go to constraint defined in dialog box. I just make them coincident. Click OK, and your sketch is now fully defined. Delete. Then we have keyhole profile. What I do, I just click the first point, go to second point, give the first radius, then give the second radius. Fine, and your keyhole is created. Then moving on to the hexagon. So I just give the first center of this point, then the radius point of the circle, and hexagon is created. To define this, you can define it in many number of ways. The first is just give the dimension to the circle, and circle is defined your hexagon. Now if you want to define it with the help of edge to edge distance, just click on the edges, so you can define the polygon. Delete this. Even you can define single edge also, like 200, and like giving the angles to these points. Now here what I do, I basically over constraint this object. Why? Because we already know that hexagon has 6 sides and 120 angle is also given, so I don't want to give the angle, and your sketches over constraint. Then we have center rectangle. I just click on the center, click on the end point of the rectangle, this rectangle is created. Just give the constraint, click on these constraint box, give the dimensions as 400, 800, and the system is created. Select all the elements, delete. Now moving on to the constraint dialog box. So for today I think it's enough. You can try these commands of your own, and if you have any queries, let me know. I'll make sure it should be and properly solved out. Thanks for watching. Peace.